100 years ago was when the Titanic set off and it was supposed to, not sink, the unsinkable ship.
You would think so. But in the blockbuster movie, you kind of learn the story of Jack and Rose. But there's actually a better story, perhaps, and it's the one of Molly Brown,
who truly was unsinkable. As we're about to learn, Lindsay Boach is live this morning in Hannibal at the birthplace of Mrs. J.J. Brown. Hey, Linz.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, they called her the unsinkable Molly Brown because she was actually on 2 other boats that had disasters, and they didn't sink, or she didn't sink on those either. So she just said, it's the Brown luck. I must be unsinkable. So that's where that kind of came from. And tomorrow actually is the 100th anniversary of the Titanic sinking. So we chose here today to kind of learn a little bit about the history, learn about the museum here in Hannibal, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff to celebrate, I guess not celebrate, but commemorate the sinking of the Titanic. And there's tons of history here on the walls. A lot of cool stuff. Here's a picture of Molly Brown here. She was on lifeboat number 6 that actually had the capacity for 65, but it held fewer than 30 when it was lowered into the water. So an amazing story. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, it's out in 3D right now, so you might want to catch it. Great movie. Very, very cool, and it actually happened. For those of you who might think that it didn't happen, it did really happen. Gail Bryant joins me now. She is the director here of the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Hannibal.
Yes.
Explain a little bit about what people can find when they come to this home.
Well, you can see the real artifacts from Molly's life, or Margaret Tobin's life, and then the upper level, you see the dining area, the sleeping area. So yes, the museum is something to see here in Hannibal.
And now what are you guys going to be doing this coming weekend?
Well, tomorrow evening from 6 to 8, we are going to commemorate the unsinkable Molly Brown at the Mark Twain Museum with a little gala. We're going to have Molly entertain us. She's going to be there. And then, of course, she'll be recognized. A special recognition from Representative Shoemate will take place, too.
Okay, and a lot of history here. Where did all of this come from? Do you know?
Well, I don't know that, but I know that there's a family that has it, the Dempseys, pretty much overseen the museum before they gifted it to the city, and so now we are their caretaker.
And now it'll be open starting on the weekends?
Yes, it will. Tomorrow it's going to be open 10 to 4 on weekends, and then it will go open daily Memorial Day weekend, and the hours will always remain 10 to 4.
And she lived here for 13 years?
Yes.
Wow.
She was in Hannibal for 13 years.
Awesome. We're going to learn so much more about Molly Brown and about this house, all the history of it and the history of the Titanic here coming up later on in the show, guys.
Very cool. Just to clarify, the movie, based on actual events, but Jack and Rose were fiction.
Right.
Yeah, that. Right. Well, I mean, there could have been a love story, but we might not have.
I'm sure there was lots. And Molly Brown was played by Kathy Bates, and they had John Jacob Astor. So real people. But the Jack and Rose characters made up by James Cameron.
You always have to throw a love mix in there to get the box office.
Yeah, as if a ship sinking in the middle of the night in the middle of the Atlantic isn't exciting.
Isn't blockbuster
Yeah,
enough.
isn't enough to make you want to go see. Hannibal is known for its rich history of Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, myself. Well, maybe not myself, but...
But there's another famous person that came from Hannibal that people might not always think of firsthand, and it's actually Margaret Tobin.
Yeah, a lot of famous people from Hannibal, actually, that people don't know about because they're overshadowed by Mark Twain.
And you.
And me, yes, because my rockscape is on the wall. Hey, Lindsay, you're there talking about Molly Brown, who is Margaret Tobin, better known as Molly Brown. Hi.
Yes, her given name was Margaret Tobin. A lot of people called her Maggie, but people say that she got the name Molly from Hollywood. So she married J.J. Brown. That's how she got Brown as her last name. But yeah, she was born Margaret Tobin, and we're actually standing right now in the room where she was born. There's a bed over here, and it actually has little hooks with yarn that kind of, it's not like typical beds today. And 4 of the 6 Tobin children were actually born in this house. There were 8 people in this house at one time. So the older daughters, Katie and Mary, probably shared the daybed that's in the front room. We're going to go to that in a little bit. While the mom and dad actually shared this room with kids in a trundle bed and cradle. So we're learning a lot about Molly Brown, or Margaret Tobin, as she was known in this house. She lived here for 13 years. We're going to come on into this front room, and this is probably where they spent a lot of time, the family did, in this room. Gail Bryant joins me now. She's with the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Hannibal. When people come here, what is usually their favorite part? What do they like to see?
Well, they do like, up here in the level where you can actually see the dining room, and then of course where you just came from, the bedroom. And it's just amazing to really, you know, it's just surreal because this is where she was born. She spent the first 13 years of her life with her family. So a lot of people, we do receive visitors from all over that come in to see her birthplace.
And now there's been a lot of restoration done, and these aren't actually the pieces from the house. These are timepieces. But there's china, there's a daybed, and all of this. Really, really cool.
It really is. You need to come out and see. The museum does open this weekend.
Yeah, so if you're looking for something to do, there's a lot of events going on this weekend in commemoration of Molly Brown. You guys are having an event tomorrow.
Right, tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 in the Mark Twain Museum, we are going to have a commemoration gala. And Molly will be entertaining, and she will also be presented an award from being recognized by the state of Missouri.
And now there's also a home in Colorado that's doing a lot of celebrating too, because that's where she moved to after she was here. The Unsinkable Molly Brown. She's called the Unsinkable Molly Brown because not only did she survive the Titanic, but 2 other boating accidents that happened, tragedies that happened. Really neat history. We're going to learn a little bit more about her family here in the next half hour.
Very cool.